In fact, we say that the best is saved for the last, and that's the reason why this panel, ladies and gentlemen, for many of you who are here, youngsters with a particular dream that I say the AI dream, no best than the panel here, Abhishek, Akash, and Niharika, each one of them with the sectors that they are handling, which I would say is the dream come true for many. Niharika looks after a particular sector which may not be the most classiest if one has to really sell it off, but today she's going to try and do that. Niharika is the founder and CEO of Volar, which is again a drone-based inspections and data analysis. Abhishek is the founder CEO of Socket AI Labs, advanced language models, and Akash, founder and CEO of Omnipresent Robotech. Let me just quickly, make one single point here with regards to Akash, Niharika, and Abhishek, the young Turks of AI. While I want to start by asking you all, the AI race that we are all in right now, and this is a constant kind of a refrain that we have, that are we being the third fiddle to US, China, and perhaps are we lagging behind somewhere? For you all to take that jump first, from where you all started and where you are right now, I want to know from each one of you, your journey of making this plunge. Niharika, first to you.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to speak with all of you. I started my career as an investment banker, spent about 6.5 years with companies like PwC and KPMG. I was doing mergers and acquisitions, and as you would know, in an M&A deal, you have the technical due diligence phase. At that point of time in 2019, realized that the technical due diligence is happening completely manually. So you have people with handheld devices going, checking solar panels, etc., and then creating your due diligence reports. So when everyone's talking about Industry 4.0, why aren't we leveraging cutting edge technology? So that got me thinking, and I started doing some sort of research out of curiosity, and I stumbled upon drones as a technology, and then realized that drones basically are a tool that can be used. If you mount multiple types of different sensors on top of drones, there is a lot of disruption that can happen for the industrial sector. So,
sorry to interrupt, but for someone who's been an investment banker, to really get, just to explain this to all of you, her drones are basically now going into manufacturing sectors. Many of you must have seen with each of these manufacturing setups, you would have those bigger boilers and chimneys and all of that. What made you really think that, okay, this is workable, that I can actually step into the picture? And I see the biggest gap here, because what would have been an intensive work spread across over a fortnight, you've now brought it down to barely few hours. What made you really go ahead with this kind of approach?
So the thing that convinced me that this is an opportunity large enough to quit my job and start this company is that it somehow checked all the boxes. It has an impact on people. You're improving the safety by about 100%. That's what we've delivered so far. It has an impact on your profits, because now you're completely eliminating the way scaffolding needs to be constructed, resources need to be deployed for doing traditional inspections. And then it also has a huge impact on the planet, in the sense that we're having, we're able to reduce carbon emissions, because now you're able to detect issues much ahead of time. So energy consumption takes, you're able to fix those issues at that point of time. So it's a rare business opportunity where all the three, you're able to have an impact, and which is what convinced me. And I quit my job and I started this company.
Well, Akash, in Akash's case, I don't know how many of you all have actually seen this, but there were headlines when Chandrayaan was launched, and thereafter many had essentially indicated that the eyes of the rover was provided by a company which is based out of here. And defense, in the defense sector too, over the last few months, there was this entire talk of how this has become the age of drone warfare. And I believe that's where you really come into the picture. I want to ask you, how did your journey really look like? Was it difficult to really get into this?
Well, so I was practically working for US Army for a while. I was in US working for Lockheed Martin, worked on something called DARPA Robotics Grand Challenge, where around 20 years back they were building the world's first driverless car. So always into building autonomous robots, and it was a hobby. But then, I guess at some point I had that Swades moment, and I really felt like this is not how I want to spend my entire life. And I got back to India not really knowing what exactly I'll be doing here. But fortunately, I could get some projects from DRDO and ISRO and started to build a bomb disposal robot for DRDO. Then eventually got involved with ISRO on the Chandrayaan project. And then more recently with drones and now with space tech as well. So that's been kind of in short.
Abhishek, what about you? Like, how did you really come into the how did you really come into the picture in the sense that what you are building, a lot of focus has been on the LLMs as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. You've brought in something called Bhasha. Yeah.
So you have to repeat the same question.
For him?
Yeah, yeah. The thing that you were saying.
Not live, no? Hello. Hello.
Move your mic towards the this. This is better.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah. Thank you.
Should I take?
Sense another opportunity of building something for the mics too. Abhishek, I'll come back to you, Akash, because I believe it's not really catched the voice here. But I want to ask you, Akash, Abhishek, as to how did you really develop this? Because we are looking at a huge market in terms of language, to be able to reach out to people across different sectors, different states. What made you really come into the picture? And do you really think that was it something that people were attracted to?
So my journey actually started back in almost 2011. So during my undergrad days, so I have been into mathematics, I have been into computer science since I was like 12, 13 year old. I think what attracted me towards AI is this notion that we are, for the very first time in the history of humanity, we are literally trying to emulate our own human brain somehow. Like we are trying to replicate that particular brain. That's super exciting because imagine Einstein kind of movement, that Einstein was a genius. If I have 10 Einsteins with me, I can actually solve for quantum mechanics. I can solve for new kind of physics, mathematics, and that is where the AI game is essentially coming in. So it's not just about, say for example, a chat GPT kind of interface, which is definitely helping us in terms of solving very trivial, simple problems. It's also about solving the problems which are super, super hard. And I feel that a super smart AI, sort of like an Einstein, can actually give us these new bases. So I had this feeling for a very long time, especially like when I was doing my master's. And back then I decided, ki fine, I'll invest my time into figuring out how intelligence is ultimately cooked and what can this do for people at scale. And we started building out what we call now Pragna. It's basically a small language model. This happened almost 2 years back when a bunch of us, me, my folks from IIC Bangalore, we were just like, let's just give it an attempt of what it takes to build out a foundation model. We'll do it from scratch. We didn't have like any kind of infrastructure, like all these compute GPUs, no money, no data sets, nothing at our disposal. We were just like, okay, we'll just figure it out. We'll just see how all these things are built out. We attempted it, collected a lot of data, did translation, partnered with 3 cloud providers, took help from CDAC Pune to get us some compute with us, and we were literally hopping from one cloud provider to another to train this particular model. But we ultimately built it out.
But was your idea rejected at any point in time when you all? I think so. That's something that can go for each one of you. These are ideas which may not have been established.
Right.
And in a market like ours, where we have to always prove ourselves, was there a point in time that you were rejected, and you were said, okay, this does not really work?
We were rejected not by the, so how I see it is, one rejection is the scientific rejection that some things don't work. You have proof point, you have data sets around it. We never got that particular rejection because the models and like all the techniques that we were leveraging were working fantastically well. But I would say we did get rejected from the community, to be frank. The community in terms of how VCs look at us. One problem, and I have this personal frustration, especially with Indian VCs, is that they don't back deep tech founders. And that has been a major problem. If they do, I feel that India has a lot of talent to ultimately solve for deep tech, but it's about talent and money coming together to solve very hard problems. I feel that is missing from the Indian ecosystem. So from that point, we definitely got rejected, but not otherwise. But now we have an opportunity to do like great things. Maybe I'll talk about that like going forward, yeah.
You know, I want to ask you this, Niharika, because especially with the industry that you are working with, and you know, we are talking about what really drives a country. It is through manufacturing and various other sectors. So when you are going to your clients and telling them, look here, I'm going to solve your problem, you do not have to put up huge scaffolding and really look into what's really wrong with your manufacturing setup. Did anyone tell you that, look here, I don't really need you because I would rather stick to what I've been doing for ages put together? And that really helps us because we believe in the jugaad mentality. Does the jugaad mentality really stop entrepreneurs like you?
No, it definitely doesn't stop entrepreneurs like me. But you're right, these manufacturing plants are commissioned long time ago. There are some plants which are 25, 30 years old, etc. And then there are some set processes which the entire unit is used to following, right? And then there is somebody who just walks in and says that, hey, we can completely disrupt the way you're inspecting. Of course, nobody believes that at first. But then when you're able to showcase a proof of concept and showcase what the technology could do for them, when I'm able to commit that we will be able to ensure that all your inspections will be 100% safe, because now you don't have to send human beings inside confined spaces like inside a chimney, inside a boiler, inside a tank. So when you actually demonstrate, and not just the tech bit, but also the ROI bit, then that's when customers warm up, and that's when customers want to at least try and adopt the technology. So this was a challenge for me 5 years ago, but now I'm happy to let you know that some of our customers have actually included it in their SOP that without this drone or tech-based inspection, we will not send a single person to do the repair work. So that is, I think, a huge culture shift that we've been able to ignite, which is great for a country like India.
Is there a cultural shift that you really look into your sector? Because again, that's an emerging sector, so obviously new ideas are being welcomed. Today you have perhaps the armed forces really welcoming each of the moves that we are making, because there is a lot of change that's really happening. But what about space? Now, for instance, in space, for the longest time, we said, okay, look here, you know, why can't ISRO essentially do what NASA does? But the fact of the matter is that we have prevented, you know, ISRO to really get that wings that they need. Private players did not really come into the picture because they were prevented from doing so. Today, things are really changing, but is it really enough, or have we really missed the bus?
I think when it comes to space tech, there is a lot that India is doing, and there's a lot that still needs to be done. I mean, all said and done, we still have only 2% of the space tech market. But having said that, I think the dramatic change that has happened in the last few years is how government has been quickly turning around, supporting startups, discussing their ideas. So for example, one of the things that we are developing is we have this grant from Ministry of Defense where we are building this amazing state-of-the-art synthetic aperture radar technology, where these sensors will be literally able to see inside this room, even underground, in day, in night, and amazing resolution, and create a full 3D. You know, this is the kind of technology that probably only US or maybe Russia has, I don't know if China has and all that. But this is the kind of technology they're backing a startup to develop. And on basis of government grants, we were able to raise further lot of equity from private sector as well, which is really helping us. And nowadays, it's not unheard to see space tech companies raising anywhere between $10 to $100 million. And so that has definitely started happening. And I'm sure, India will have a little bit of catching up to do, but I think things will change in space tech.
You spoke about the VCs and the fact that, there isn't enough in the market to really push new ideas. And when we talk about the big tech, this has happened in the past too. When you've had a Google and an Apple and a Microsoft really coming up, it is we who have been driving it to a certain extent. Why does that really happen? Why is it that we do not have the AI first approach, if I may say so? If we're told we have that kind of an approach, probably things would be very different. What stops us from adopting an AI first approach?
I think at least talking from the financial point of view, everybody like who I have spoken to, they typically tell me that, look, India is not a big enough market to support, say, for example, the work that we are doing. If we built out, just take a case, we built out a frontier model or a foundation model that has our languages, our context. Most of the people then start arguing that, do we even have users in terms of who would pay us? Users are many. ChatGPT right now, India has the highest number of users in ChatGPT. We are top 3 when it comes to consumption of Hindi TTS model 11 Labs. 11 Labs is a US-based company. So a lot of utilization is happening. But again, I think our mindset is stuck with, oh, market is not big enough to ultimately attempt something like this, which I don't seriously believe in. India is an emerging economy right now, right? Even with the scale of users, even if you take a subset of those users, convert them into some sort of paying customers, that itself is a huge market as of now, and that adoption is right now happening. So I think at least from finance point of view, these people need some statistics, some numbers. I think now India has started giving them out these numbers on top of which they can create their thesis. So that's on the aspect of finances. Otherwise, I don't see a problem, to be very frank. Like in terms of when we look at, can an Indian company sustain the kind of work that OpenAI is doing at a global level? I would say definitely yes. We should attempt it. And why restrict ourselves to India when we can actually do some amazing work globally? Take a case for the work that my colleague is doing. If we build out this tech, why can't we just sell it to friendly nations? And India would be more than happy to export defense-related our IP to the friendly nations out there. We have that capability. We have that know-how of doing it. Why can't we export frontier technology, AI technologies to the rest of the world? We can absolutely do it. Middle East is there, who is like a big enough market as of now. Middle East is not known for technology. We are known for technology, but it's a big enough market for us to work with them, capture that particular market too. So India has a lot of opportunity right now. We are already in the game of tech. People have known us for services. We just need to shift to a new mindset where product takes center, where AI takes center, and ultimately build it out and then maybe work with others.
You say there is a lot of opportunity, and that's probably everyone who says when it comes to our market. What is that opportunity that is there, but it's not been handpicked by us? So for anyone probably here who's sitting here and wants to have that kind of a dream that I want to be part of this emerging technology which is going to drive perhaps the years to come next. That's the next big thing that we are really staring at. What is that one big opportunity that is there, not seen, not touched?
Very broadly, I would say multidisciplinary. Anything that you do in multidisciplinary is a hotbed as of now when it comes to innovation. But when you go specific to certain aspects, I would say robotics and quantum is what I am definitely leaning towards. And if you add like an AI tadka into it, that is super fantastic. So quantum is going to boom in the next couple of decades for sure. Robotics is going to boom in the next couple of years, not even decades, because robotics is quite hot right now. So I would say that if somebody wants to explore ideas, I would advise them, if you have the technical know-how, be at the cutting edge. Be at the cutting edge. Don't even look anything below that. Just work on the cutting edge. It would be super hard to do that first, but I think we have enough support to do it, and you will be able to crack it for sure.
Akash, when it comes to quantum, we have seen defense wants to really get majorly into it. And therein lies another problem for especially a country like us, because we do not have that scope, or we have the scope, but there is not enough that is available right now. Do you believe that is an area that's untapped?
Yeah, I mean, quantum definitely, as my colleague pointed out, is going to be a big area because, see, right now, all our encryption systems are practically hackable by a quantum computer. And so to make something, first of all, quantum proof, and then to design it at the next level where, there are these quantum systems that ensure an ultimate level of safety. So that is definitely an area which I'm sure defense is also looking at. Another thing that is related to this, which we experience, and recently, as you might have seen with Operation Sindoor happening, one of the things that defense, we had a discussion with them, was that most of the drones that were being used in these warfares, they were getting easily jammed and spoofed.
Right.
And so they came back to us and said, can AI solve this issue? And we went back to the drawing board and we realized that if the drone itself has its own brain, its own eyes on the platform itself, so that it's not dependent on GPS, it's not dependent on satellites, it's not dependent on radio telemetry communications, then the drone can actually fly without getting hacked, spoofed, or jammed. So this is another, that's an interesting technology that, I'm sure many others are working, but we are also on it. And I think once drones become hack-proof, then there will be another fire and forget, like our BrahMos missiles. And so you can pick up any problem. I mean, and that's one of the good things about being in India, is that there is so much to be solved. To all the youngsters here, I'll say, don't complain about what's broken here, but actually see that as an opportunity. Everything that's broken is an opportunity to solve. And then you can apply AI in most of these areas, and you'll find that, that there's so much to be done.
Can I ask you, because you talk about how drone spoofing, that is a major area to be looking into. In Ukraine, when the war actually began, for the longest time, we were essentially
You
told
were
that the
there
war.
in Ukraine, no?
I was there, and at that point in time, we were told that perhaps it's a limited war and it's going to get over in the next 10 days because Ukraine cannot ever match up to Russia from the military power. And thereafter, the story really changed. In fact, it turned out that there was a drone unit in Ukraine, and there were filmmakers who were part of those drone units. Drone has really changed the way countries are really now fighting. Warfare tactics have completely changed. Do you believe that is an area that perhaps would be the key focus right now?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the current conflicts that are going on, drones are practically being used like bullets. The first line of attack and the first line of defense is drones. And look at a country like Ukraine. They have the capacity to build millions of drones every year. India is nowhere actually close right now. And so this is something we have to learn, not just how to build those great products, but how to scale them up well while keeping the cost low. And so I think drone technology is another big area where many youngsters like you should be looking at how to build them at scale, build them smart, and build them for reliability in long range.
One thing, Niharika, when I was really looking at the portfolio that you're really handling, the thing that strikes us the most is as what Akash said, there's a problem and you find a solution. In the ideas that you've had, it looks like that there was a problem, you found a solution, and a unique solution, because there are not too many in this area where you are working right now. How do you think things have really changed for you over the last few years, particularly keeping in mind that there isn't too many players in the market? Does that worry you, that, okay, it has not really worked for some, it has worked for you, and the market seems to be all yours?
So I think this has to do with where each company is when it comes to digitization. For example, if you look at Europe or if you look at the US, there is higher level of digitization, therefore higher level of adoption of these robotic technologies, right, in the manufacturing sector. In India, we're still catching up when it comes to digital transformation. Having said that, of course, we have the early mover advantage, and now there are a few players who are trying to, come up with similar technologies, etc. But what we've realized in the last 5 years is that the crux of this entire digitization for manufacturing is to move from reactive to condition-based monitoring, and then finally to predictive. That is what the future for manufacturing is. So what we've built at Volar Alta is essentially a layer of intelligence that is able to ingest data points from drones, from crawlers, from quadrupeds, from other types of robots, and then convert them into actionable insights and give it back to the customers, right? So not just that, actually. there is also the problem of data sitting in different silos because each of these robots is now, giving you in different formats. So somebody needs to also solve for the interoperability issue. So that is what we're working on at the moment, and that's what the software platform that we've built is able to deliver to our customers. So
Were you ever told that you are too expensive?
yes,
Even
always,
now?
even now, yes.
And how do you really respond when someone tells you you're too expensive, I don't need you?
So the thing is that we aren't even capturing a small percentage of the value that we are creating for our customers. So for example, so far we've been able to deliver 96% downtime reduction. You know what that translates for large enterprises in oil and gas cement? It's crores of rupees of production, right? So we aren't even capturing even like 0.1% of the value that we're generating for our customers. So
But just speaking from the economic point of view, it's far more cheaper, it's far more reliable,
Yes.
and it's more safer. Then what stops?
no, nothing stops. It's just that like 4 years ago, they were excited to kind of adopt the technology. So, of course, it's new tech, etc. So it'll be a little premium. Okay, accepted. Now we're delivering about 6 to 7 assets of inspections per day, which otherwise traditionally a 110-meter tall chimney would take 17 and a half days. I'm doing the same inspection in less than an hour, right? So now they're kind of used to getting that level of service. And now after they've gotten used to it, now it's like, okay, now let's go back and let's negotiate, right? So it's that cycle, but you keep innovating, you keep adding new features, and then you kind of figure out a way to still stay premium.
Abhishek, did that ever happen with you where you were told that you're too expensive because this is an idea, it's a luxury item that we are really looking at. Why do I really need this kind of a translation to really happen at a go? Were you ever told that?
Yes, we have been. So we have this product called real-time voice AI. Basically, any developer can come utilize our platform, WebSocket-based APIs to build out any kind of voice agent. As of now, voice technology is actually quite expensive, I would say. So many people have actually inquired about it, and they're like, we can't pay that much money, and especially for the kind of scale that we are looking at. We are working with them to reduce the cost, at least in terms of technology. But yes, AI in general, as of now.
How does that really benefit? Say, for example, if someone here who's sitting here and wants to use your technology, how does that really help for any specific problem? Can you give perhaps an example of how things really change with the application of your tool?
I will give an example because that's a very interesting example and like literally on the ground example. So my team is working with someone right now. What they are trying to do is like if you go to a samosa shop right now on the street, right now that vendor is like super bogged with orders that they are getting like at a sweet shop or something. Somebody is working on this voice box, very similar to what Paytm has done, but Paytm is only confirming your payment, right? Once you have paid something. This guy wants to create an AI agent which is sitting right at the counter. You can just go and talk to that particular agent and ask, "Bhaiya, mujhe 5 samosa chahiye." And immediately there is a backend system which takes the order, and that agent then confirms, "ठीक है, आप 50 रुपए पे कर दो, ये आपके बराबर में QR code रखा हुआ है." You can just pay using the QR code, or even voice-enabled payment can be done using that. And the payment is done, and agent is the one who is basically taking your order, confirming the order to a back-end team, and then ultimately delivering it. This is all happening at a samosa shop, like at a local shop, which is there. So our product is a very horizontal product, I would say. Anybody can come in and build any kind of voice agent. It could be as simple as doing sales, marketing related calls, and in the back end you will have these AI agents which can just talk to you and
all languages, because nowadays it's extremely risky in some parts of the country. If you don't know this language, you can get beaten. Your tool, does it actually have all the languages?
It has all the languages, and we are adding support. Like all the languages are not of equal quality as of now. Like that's a problem, but we are trying to fix that. But yeah, if somebody says, "Oh, I don't want to talk to you in Hindi, maybe in some other language," there is a system which can basically switch on the spot, so you can actually do some amazing work over there as well. But the important aspect is voice agents. We have also figured it out that India is not a very text-savvy market. Like we are not typing in our native languages right now. My first language is Hindi. Frank, don't ask me to write anything in Hindi. Most probably I'll fail. But I am using my language as a mixed code language where I'm mixing Hindi with English as well. So India is a voice-first market. So we have to, if we have to adopt AI at scale, it will only happen if we have voice support embedded into whatever AI is doing. And that would become very natural way of interacting with AI. So that is where I think India is moving towards, and that is where most of the use cases will ultimately get deployed.
Akash, before I ask this question about what I really am interested in, I would say that the wildest dream that each one of you have had, the AI wildest dream. But before that, I want a quick question with you, Akash, with regards to what really sort of upsets you when an idea like yours may not have really found resonance in this room that you are in. Is there anything that really upsets you, especially keeping in mind that you have come from a country where things have really worked fast, may not really have required that kind of persuasion, and you see that it requires a hell lot of persuasion here? What upsets you the most?
I think one of the things that is upsetting is to see a lot of really, really good entrepreneurs, and they've been doing some really good work, and then somehow struggling to scale up, even to test their ideas. And that is something which, to some extent, I agree with what my colleague said. I think it's about the ecosystem. I mean, I'll give you an example. So one of the biggest and the first breakthroughs of the modern generation AI was something called protein folding problem. This was done by a company called AlphaFold, which eventually Google bought for about like $400 million or something. And I think their founders recently even got Nobel Prize for that. And now this is a problem where they took a problem of finding structure of a protein. And it's critical because if you can figure out the protein structure, you figured out the basics of life. You will know practically, discovery of any kind of drug, any disease, building biodegradable stuff. I mean, all kinds of problems can be solved. Now, a problem like this, I'm sure entrepreneurs in India could have also built. But this would have required a sustained R&D effort of 4, 5, X number of years and sustained fund flow of like millions of dollars going in. So this kind of appetite is still building in India. So when you see a ChatGPT coming out, and when you see an AlphaFold coming out of somewhere, do we have that appetite to spend 4 or 5 years of good R&D to build really good product, have that patience, have that money coming in? And I would definitely say things have changed in the landscape in the last several years. Definitely, at least the horizon have gone to at least 2 to 3 years. But I think once people develop that horizon of 5 years, you will see a lot many more things happening. And that is something I really hope that if someday I get into investor shoes, I have that appetite. So.
I'll borrow this from Abhishek because I saw this on your website. You said tech for humanity. And humanity faces a lot more problems in today's time. I want to ask each one of you a quick solution for what you believe is tech for humanity in your language. What about you?
Since I've been working in the manufacturing space and I've actually seen firsthand the kind of pressure, the kind of work that human beings have to do to keep the plant running, it is unimaginable, right? So for me, it would be great if I'm able to build a complete end-to-end tech-based solution that is completely automating the way inspections are conducted, completely automating the way repairs are conducted, right? And then that means we are not sending a single human being into a hazardous work environment and kind of impacting lives, or rather making the quality of life much better. So for me, it is about complete automation on the operational side of things, specifically when it comes to inspections and maintenance.
Okay. If any one of you have any question, you all can ask, but a quick answer on this. Tech for humanity, what does it mean for you and for you?
So why that line on the website first? So our long-term goal, I want to talk about that particular aspect because what we are moving towards is basically generalized intelligence. And what that essentially means is that if we can build out a parallel brain, which is basically an AI, which is equivalent to the brain of all humans combined in all the different domains, right? So what we are trying to do is basically replicate all the knowledge that is available in the world, put it into an AI, so that that AI becomes amazing in doing all the things. Now, what can be done with that particular generalized intelligence? We are tackling major challenges across the globe right now, which are around climate change. Food crisis is a major problem right now in the world. We have to figure out how do we ensure food security, not just in India. There are continents which are like very bad right now. And what I personally believe again is that I don't want to solve AI just for very trivial use cases, because there is a lot of energy investment that is also going into building out these models. But can we ultimately go towards creating a generalized intelligence which can then help human beings? We are not being replaced by AI as of now. Help human beings to ultimately solve some of these pressing problems. That is what I would want to be. And if somebody gives me like hypothetically like unlimited money and time to do it, I would immediately go and solve that particular problem in one shot. But we don't live in an ideal world. We have to build businesses, we have to build revenue. And hence, given this larger goal of creating generalized intelligence, I think the path toward is doing research, spinning some of these research products into money-making products, earn revenue, fill that particular gap of research and funding using the revenue that we are generating so that we are self-sustaining. So it's sort of like a cycle. And ultimately, once we go in that particular cycle, we'll be solving and we'll be going towards our broader vision of solving for humanity and essentially building out the generalized intelligence.
Akash, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I see happening, and it might happen rather quickly, is these smart AI agents, when they develop, every one of us will have our own sort of agent. So I have an agent of mine, you have an agent of yours. Our agents could actually meet and decide whether an actual meeting is even needed. And that's going to start happening very soon. And it'll save a lot of time, definitely. But then it'll go to the next level, and we'll have our own robot clones. Okay. And they will work, they'll behave like us. And then at some stage, it will come to a place where practically there won't really be much work for any one of us to do. And that can be a good thing if we somehow able to build a utopian society and we are able to somehow keep people meaningfully engaged. I don't know how. But if we find a way, then I think it will be a really good, amazing society. If not, then maybe this could be something difficult to manage. But one thing for sure is, I think the world is moving in that direction, and it might hit you sooner than you think.
Your answer almost classified the wildest AI dream. So I want to end this by a quick one from each one of you. The wildest AI dream, Niharika.
Yeah, like I said, right? And complete automation. That would be the wildest dream for me.
What about you, Abhishek?
On the positive side or the negative side? Because
You choose. You're telling them, so they are the ones who are going to listen to your wildest AI dream.
Okay. Okay, I'll give both. On the worst side, and we should be very mindful of this, and a lot of people are actually discussing about it, is a simple funda on ethics of AI, I would say, because that's if we are not very careful, I'm not talking about, by the way, of like a Terminator kind of scenario, although that might also happen, I'm not very sure. But at least going on the ethics side, that these models are hallucinating a lot, and we need to figure out like a lot of these methods on how to reduce that particular bit. But if we are not careful, we might end up not being a power user of AI, but ultimately a doomsday kind of situation where we over-rely on these systems. Some studies have actually shown that over-reliance is also not that good. We are actually hitting our cognitive abilities. On a positive side, definitely, I think AI will be very common in terms of our day-to-day life, as even he was mentioning that even today, I think all of us are using AI in some form or the other. I think it will become even more common going forward. And everywhere you will find AI. To be frank, we are not even thinking about the use cases where we will be finding AI going in the future. So super excited about that particular time.
Trust me, a lot are already using in the newsroom as far as AI is concerned. For good or bad, we'll talk about that later. Last, what about you, Akash?
Well, so one of the things is with AI is, if I talk about a wild dream, is that it's going to get as powerful, if not more powerful than nuclear power. Huh? And that's I'm talking at a level of a country. And so the faster we can get in mastering this AI for India, I think the stronger we'll become as a nation, not just in terms of defense, but in terms of economy, in terms of general lifestyle. So I think it's important that a lot of youngsters come and bring into it. On a more personal level, what I see happening is that suddenly AI will start behaving like humans. And I don't know, did you guys see that movie where recently that heroine was a robot in that movie and she was exactly behaving like a human being? I forget the name of the movie. But I think this will start happening at some point of time. And at that point, you will have to sort of look at whether, how you treat human relations versus a robot getting into your life was just as good, if not better. So that's again going to be a wild dream, which, if it does come true, you're not sure if it is for better or worse.
Well, thank you very much, Akash, Abhishek, and Niharika for joining. Anyone, any questions? Well, we can, if you have, then we'll quickly take because we are running out of time. Okay, then. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Niharika. Thank you.